Hi, good afternoon. I'm really good. Thank you, Adam. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I want to welcome everybody, and then we'll just jump right into this. So I'm so excited, everyone, because you're here at the first ever Working in Unscripted TV professional panel, and it's brought to you by ASU Film Spark. And my name is Adam Collis. I'm the founding director of ASU Film Spark, and I'm broadcasting to you, Zooming from the ASU headquarters in Los Angeles at the Herald Examiner building in downtown Los Angeles. That is ASU's home away from home in the creative capital of the world. And ASU Film Spark is the industry relations professional development arm of the Sidney Poitier New American Film School. What an honor it is to have Sidney Poitier as our example. And I would just like to ask everybody to mute their microphones if they would, or Barry, if we can do that for them, that would be helpful. So the Film Spark mission, everybody, is to help ASU students prepare for their careers in film, television, and new media. And we do this in a big variety of ways. We have online career expos like the one coming up on October 8th. We have classes like my Welcome to Hollywood class, where students get to learn from award-winning filmmakers, blockbuster producers, even big-time movie executives. We put on industry networking mixtures where students like you all get to mix and mingle with alumni who work in the industry. We call those folks the Hollywood Sun Devils. And we have a new semester in Los Angeles program which is being run by my esteemed colleague, Professor Andres Torres. And that program is launching this January, something many of you might want to know about. And we do lots more things like the special event that we have today. But before we begin that special event, a couple thank yous. I want to thank the amazing Film Spark team, Ben, Barry, Jen, Andres. The Film Spark team is incredible, and we put this thing together real nice. Second, I want to thank VP Layton from the Herberger Institute of Design and the Arts and the Career and Professional Development Services at ASU. So VP, actually, he'll tell you a little bit more about what he does, but he is focused on helping you all find your careers in the creative industries. And he's going to be leading our conversation with our esteemed guest, Roy Orecchio. Our deepest thanks to Roy. He is a long time unscripted producer working on some of the boldest and most memorable reality series in the genre. For the last 10 years, Roy served as executive producer and showrunner for series on Lifetime, TLC, MTV, Logo, E, Fuse, Bravo Network. His credits include things like Addicted to Marriage, Jersey Shore, and most recently, Five Guys a Week, which was just picked up in a big order by Lifetime. I'm sure Roy will share about that. Roy attended ASU before he relocated to Los Angeles. And in 2021, he gave us the biggest gift that an alum guy can give us, which is he developed the Unscripted Mentorship Initiative, Gusto program that you'll be hearing about today, which you can participate in as a mentee. He's super excited to serve as the program lead of Gusto, our mentorship program, and to give back to the university, create pathways for success for the students interested in careers in unscripted. So with that, I will pass things to DP and Roy, and I hope you all have a fruitful day, and I'll see you at the final panel.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Adam.
Hi, everyone, and hello again, Roy. It's good to see you. I'm glad we kind of have this time with our audience for you and I to kind of check in about everything going on with unscripted television. So I know, a lot of our students are very familiar with more feature film productions and on-set productions and everything, but I know unscripted works a little bit differently than a lot of those things. So can you kind of start by giving me and the audience a little overview about what makes unscripted television really different than scripted television and feature films?
Yeah, sure, DP. Thanks. First of all, hi, everyone. I'm super, super happy to see this come to fruition. We've been working on this for quite a while, so it's cool that we're doing it. And I think that to answer your question, so there's sort of the obvious, right? In that unscripted television is television that is not written. So we often begin unscripted television not knowing how it's going to end, which I think is the biggest sort of difference between what we do as reality television producers, right, or unscripted producers, and what producers do on the scripted side. I think there's a very sort of clear path for people who work in scripted. It's been around for, cinema's been around for over 100 years. It's very sort of segmentized, and everyone's sort of in their lane, and everyone kind of knows what they're doing. But if we think about unscripted, we're talking about a genre that's been around, about 20 years. So in many, many ways, we are writing our own history as we're making it. And I think, to me, as an unscripted producer, that's the most exciting part of all, is that we're working a little bit without a net here, and we're much more willing to try things because the turnaround times are so much faster than scripted. We're able to be much more experimental, and we're able to respond to the marketplace much more quickly than feature films are. It's so much less of a gamble than feature films, that we're able to create much more, many times more content per year, hours of content per year, than feature films. So that directly relates to jobs and careers. And I often tell people, I'm like, hey, I know you have scripted fantasies and dreams, and that's your plan. But I always encourage sort of the best and the brightest people to consider unscripted, because the volume of hiring is so high, and the job pool that we source from is small, which is the sort of the best scenario, best ratio you could hope for.
Definitely. I always tell students who are concerned about finding specific jobs in film and television, just wait for the credits. When you're at a superhero movie and you're waiting for that sneak peek of the next film, and you're sitting through 30 minutes, every single person on there got paid to do something. And unscripted is not unsimilar. Not that people get in front of the camera with their cell phone in their hand. There's hair and makeup, there's talent acquisition, there's so many other departments that go into this. I'm wondering, from your perspective, can you tell us a little bit about what makes unscripted maybe different than what we might be thinking of with documentary films and television?
That's such a good question, DP. I'm so glad you asked me, because a lot of people think that they're one and the same, and they're not. Like, I would say maybe they're in the same sort of branch of the family tree, right? They're sort of over here together, but it's very different, because what we're creating, and this is a little bit, so follow me on this one, right? What we're creating isn't necessarily factual entertainment. And what I mean by that is that often in unscripted, we work with an incredible, bold, unfiltered pool of cast members, but where we shape them and what they do isn't always entirely organic to their life. We may place them in situations that they wouldn't normally be in, or we may construct conflict points that they wouldn't normally enter into were cameras not on them. And I think that's sort of the difference, right? Like, documentary, sort of the golden rule of documentary, right, is like you're there to observe. You're observing a situation or exploring or unpacking an issue, right? But our job, we're there to create a story with a beginning, a middle, and end. And most of all, we're tasked with creating something entertaining. And so it's that level of entertainment that makes us not be documentaries.
Yep. I remember distinctly when they were revisiting the first few seasons of The Real World, and talking about how the cast members thought it was so difficult to grapple with that this wasn't a documentary television show, that this was an unscripted reality show, and that it was something that MTV and the world in general just really hadn't seen before. And in my knowledge, that really kind of started shaping what unscripted television meant. You had talked earlier about the difference specifically with the job of producers and what their involvement is. But that's a little high level for some of our students coming out. Obviously, understanding those differences is important. But when it comes to script runners and pages and PAs and these more introductory positions, what are some of the things in unscripted television that our students and recent alumni can maybe put on their radar and start looking into a little bit more?
Oh, that's a really good question. Listen, I think eventually, like, everybody is on a career path, but at the beginning, I think it's just super, super important to just be in the room. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You just get in the room. By room, I don't physically mean a room. Sometimes I do mean a room, but what I mean is that just to be a part of the production or a part of the post-production in any capacity whatsoever is better than not being a part of the production. And so I think, it can be a little bit, I think it sometimes can be a little bit of a cold drink of water, let's say, to come out to like kill yourself and grind for 4 years in college or more and come out with this degree and you feel ready to attack the world. And then you come into the entertainment industry and it's like, you're going to get people coffee. And you're like, wow, I just went to school for 4 years so I could get the Starbucks order right. But the point is that that's not what you're going to be doing forever. That's just the way to crack the door open. And a year from then, you'll look back and you'll actually remember those days and you'll be like, wow, I had it so easy back then. Because as you move forward, obviously your job expectations increase exponentially. So I think when you think about entry-level careers, right, I think like the most obvious entry-level career that we think of is a production assistant. So if you want to talk about like the nuts and bolts of it, I think right now going rates for production assistant are between $210 and $250 a day. So I think that that's a fine amount of money given the expectations that you have placed upon you. Those rates have shot up. Not too long ago, we were looking at PAs. We were looking at PAs who are making $100 a day. The day of $100 a day PAs are long gone, right? So right now we're in that 210, 250 range. I think like that's sort of on the producing or sort of on the production side. If you think about on the story side, right? So we don't have writers, right? We're unscripted, but we do have story producers. So the story producers are taking all the hundreds of hours of footage and they're crafting it into a cohesive story with an A, B, and C storylines and a resolution. So, a story assistant, which is sort of equivalent to a writer's assistant, if you want to think about the writer's room structure of scripted, a story assistant is making between $1,500 and $1,800 a week. If you want to think about the editorial post-production side of things, obviously, we are working with a very high level, very experienced editors who've been doing it 10, 20 plus years. Those people are making rates anywhere from $3,500 to $4,500 a week. But, if you think about not even a junior editor, but like a Avid assistant, right? So you've got to be proficient on Avid, and there's no two ways about it. You can't be an Avid assistant without being proficient. But there's also no excuse not to learn Avid. You can get free software, you can take free classes. I'm sure ASU is great at educating anybody who's interested on Avid. So I think you can come in at an Avid assist between like $1,200 and $1,500 a week. So there is good money to be made in unscripted, and we're hiring. And that's the best news of all. We are hiring like nobody's business. I'm currently staffing a show right now, and I am having a bear of a time finding people who are available and ready to work on my show.
Well, you've got a captive audience right here, right now. So everyone in the room, I want you to really soak in what Roy has said, especially that first point about just being in the room. One of the career competencies outlined by the National Association of Colleges and Employers, there are 8 skill career competencies that are core to every single job, regardless of your age, industry, background, or experience level. And one of those is career mobility. And that's basically understanding the 12-step mantra of my current reality is not my ultimate reality. The job that I have now is not the job I'm always going to have. When Roy is interviewing you or Roy's team is interviewing you for a position or looking at your resume, they know that you don't want to make coffee runs and be a production assistant for the rest of your life. No one does. Everything relates to the next thing. Everything is about transferable skills. Just because you might find yourself with an opportunity to take an internship with a talent agency or, a post-production company, when your emphasis is on maybe production and filming, doesn't mean that there are not transferable skills that directly relate into those things. And Roy has outlined some of the basic skills that he's specifically looking for in each one of these positions. So we've got a lot of great insight from that, Roy. Thank you so much. I want everyone on this call to also understand that networking is so important. It is about who you know. It is about where you show up. It is about raising your hand and asking questions and offering your services and your insight. It's about knowing your worth and knowing where you want to be and being kind of persistent about getting there. So Roy, can you talk to us a little bit as we're rounding out this about maybe the production timeline? Because I know that our students working on student films are on more of a crunch than maybe larger feature films. But reality, unscripted television certainly runs on a very different timeline. So what is the average, you were talking about pay per week. What is the average kind of start to wrap time of the actual shooting at some of these shows?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's much more accelerated than feature film, like by a long shot. So I'll give you, I think maybe the best way to answer the question is just talk about what I'm sort of living with right now.
Yeah.
So I'm currently in pre-production on a new series. The series is large. It's 21-hour episodes. So it's a very big order. The first season that's a very big order. So we've got about 12 weeks of pre-production. And by pre-production, I also mean of casting. So our casting team is on and currently casting. So we go 12 weeks there, and then we're in the field for 5 months. So it takes 5 months to shoot the show. And then we come back, and post will begin simultaneously after the first month of field production. So field and post will overlap. And then post will take us from December to August. So post will take 9 months. So we're looking at like all in all about 14 months from start to finish delivered series.
That is incredibly accelerated.
And now, that's what I mean about that's why there are more jobs, because the turnover is so much faster than feature film.
Now, speaking of the turnover, I know a lot of times I always speak with classes about how frustrating it is to see an incredible job opportunity maybe in your inbox or at a job post after it's already gone. To that end, students and recent alumni who are interested in these types of positions, where should they be looking for this type of work online? Are there specific job boards for unscripted, similar to the ones for other types of productions?
There are, and people probably know this, and if you don't, this is a great thing to know about. There's a website called Staff Me Up. So if you go to Staff Me Up, it's exclusively for unscripted jobs. And so it's free to browse. You don't need to pay anything. And you'll see daily updates of careers and open roles. And what's kind of good about Staff Me Up is that there's a lot of like very little short-term jobs. Like you can pick up a gig for a week, or you can pick up a gig for 2 weeks. And I think like as someone who's just coming into the unscripted industry, I think it's super valuable to work with as many different people as possible in as many different companies. And taking these short-term production gigs is great because it gets you known to many different production managers. It gets you known to many different executive producers like myself. It gets you to meet lots and lots and lots and lots of people. And I think at the beginning of your career, obviously, like we all have bills to pay, we need to eat, and it takes money to eat, I get it. But at the beginning of the career, meeting and knowing people is as valuable as your paycheck.
Yep. Going to those mixers now that they're starting to open back up, and we're seeing a lot more of these networking events. Going to those, as they say, shaking the hands and kissing the babies.
Yeah,
that's the planting of the seeds, and that networking. You plant the seeds and you water them, so that we harvest that later on in life. And it's important to do, because if you don't do that early on, if you don't start getting to know people, then they don't know who you are. If you guys don't reach out to Roy and shoot him a LinkedIn message and say, hey, thanks for speaking with me, Roy doesn't know who the heck you are, so you're not on his radar. But if you reach out and you say, hey, so so great speaking with you, I'd love to work with you in the future, and he sees your name come up in a list of people, he's heard of you, he knows you. That's how this industry works. So some of these job titles and everything, and I know we're coming right at the end of our time.
Yeah.
I think what we'll go ahead and do probably is maybe in a summary, a thank you email, we can let people know some of the types of job titles, but definitely that Staff Me Up website that you mentioned, the students who are on the line and alumni on the line, go there because those are the job titles. Those are the search terms to use. The people who are there are looking for those types of things. And we just got a question about what skill sets are most in demand for unscripted. And I think we heard each level of, producing, the actual production side of things, and then, editorial and post-production, each kind of have their own type of skill sets depending on what you're going for. As a student of the Sidney Poitier New American Film School and ASU, you have a wide variety of transferable skills. It's a matter of when you're applying to that specific position, tailoring that application packet to highlight the skills for that particular position. If you're applying to an applicant pool for multiple positions, highlight the skills that are relevant to the position you're most interested in as a magnet resume to show this is what I can do, but this is what I specialize in. Again, being open to a lot of things, but I'm seeing a lot of nodding from Roy of, tailoring that application packet to make sure that you're looking at what it is.
I think I just want to quickly, before our time runs out on this panel, I just want to encourage all current ASU students to really consider enrolling in the Gusto mentorship program. It's a one-on-one mentorship program where you will be paired with a working entertainment unscripted executive, and you'll have all the access that you could want within reason for these people who are out there every day at the very high executive level, making decisions on what goes on television, what shows are made, what shows are put into international distribution, and also how the shows are post-produced, how they're edited, how they're filmed, how they're scored, the music supervision, the whole nine. So I strongly encourage you, if anything I'm saying today sounds remotely interesting, please consider joining the mentorship program.
I just got to jump in really quick on that. I don't know if you guys can understand what a gift this man has just given you, has created. This is an alum who said, I want to give to the students. And I just want to thank you, Roy. This is such a gift. Thank you. So I just wanted to chime in really quick and make sure the students run after that, go apply to that Gusto program. It's just an incredible opportunity, the sort of thing that doesn't come around that often. Thank you, Roy, so much for that. Just wanted to chime in. DP, thank you so much.
And I just have a question for Adam and the FilmSpark team. Is there a specific application website that students should go to join the program?
Yep, so that the link that was posted right there has all the information that's needed to join the Gusto mentorship program. There's certain requirements and restrictions and a form to fill out and everything. So all the information can be found there. And I'm sure if any of our students have any questions about it, they can email the FilmSpark team to ask anything they can't learn online. Yeah, Roy, do you want to introduce some of the 3 panels that we've got going on, and then I can go ahead and tell some of the students about the Creative Career Services.
Oh, yes, I'd love to. Okay, so I think we have a really exciting day of panels lined up. They're going to be relatively painless, so stick there with us, guys. It's going to be fun. The first panel we're talking about is She's Very Real. It's women working in unscripted. And we've got 2 incredibly talented and accomplished ladies who are part of that panel. We'll be working with Leela Pond, who's an ASU alum, who is an SVP at Fox in development. So she is literally the gatekeeper to things getting on television. People ask like, well, I have a show idea. How do I make it into a television show? You convince someone like Leela to buy your idea. So she's a good one to know. And then we also work with Taryn Hoagland. Taryn Hoagland is the VP of post-production at ITV America. ITV is one of the world's largest production companies. In England, they're a television network like ABC, NBC, CBS. Here in America, they're a giant television production company who are probably best known both internationally and domestically for making the Love Island franchise. So we're going to talk to them. And then we're following that with Representation Matters. We're talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion in unscripted television. We have a phenomenal panel of super accomplished people that I'd love to introduce you to and for you guys to meet. Really cool people from Bravo, people from MTV networks, people from all over the place. So that's going to be great. And then our final panel is what we're calling Producers Clubhouse. And that's sort of like the nuts and bolts of production, like how television, that is reality television, how is that made? What are the steps? How do we make television? How do we sell it? How do we make it? How do we post-produce it? How do we deliver it? So I encourage you, if any of those or all of those topics appeal to you, just get comfortable, hang out, grab a beverage, and be with us.
Well, before I leave, I did want to just do a quick plug for Creative Career Services. I'm going to throw the chat, the link in the chat right now. But all ASU students and ASU alumni have access to career services for life, okay? We can help you with everything from crafting that application packet to land that job in unscripted television, all the way to even after you're an alumni and you're looking to retool and maybe pivot into a different type of career, preparing for an interview, preparing to go to one of our wonderful career fairs, preparing for the October 8th Film Spark Careers and Entertainment Online Expo. We are here to help you. Everything you need to know is right there. You can also book an advising appointment with myself or one of my creative career peers who specialize in studying these industries and how to put your best foot forward. So thank you all for your time and attention. And I'm going to turn it over to our first panel.
And if I may, I want to give DP one other plug because he shared something with me that I thought was outstanding. And it is a set of videos that are so creative, but also so informative on a professional development level called Assembly Required. And I put that in the link. They're great videos. And some of them are like really great just from a pure filmmaking aesthetics point of view. So DP, thank you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And with that, I'll pass it to Roy and just want to thank our guests for coming today. So grateful that you're here with us.
Hi, everyone. Hello, Leela. Hello, Taryn. Thank you for joining us.
Happy to be here.
Yay, great. So I want to introduce everyone to two of our panelists here on this first panel. First, I'd love to introduce you to Leela Pond. She's an ASU alumnus, so that's cool. Nice to see you. I want to let everyone know that Leela is the Senior Vice President of Development at Fox Alternative Entertainment, where she's responsible for the daily oversight of a team that works to develop and create new shows and formats for the global studio. Some of her shows that she's worked on include Name That Tune, Crime Scene Kitchen, upcoming Domino Masters, as well as the soon to premiere Alter Ego.
Premiered this week.
Or it did premiere, right? Yeah. Good stuff, Leela. So prior to joining Fox, Leela was the SVP of development at E! Networks, where she oversaw Botched and Chelsea Lately, Rich Kids of Beverly Hills. So lots and lots to talk about with Leela, and we're thrilled to have you here, especially as an ASU alumnus.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. And now we'll move on to Taryn. So Taryn is the Vice President of Post-Production West Coast for ITV America. She oversees an expansive slate of West Coast shows, including The Chase on ABC, Hell's Kitchen, and of course, ITV we all know and love because they are the producers of the Love Island franchise. So good job. Which, yeah, you know me, Taryn, you know how much I love Love Island. So I'm just so happy to have you both here. And I would love it if you could just each take a few minutes just to talk about your career path and what led you to where you are currently. And I think we could start with Leela.
Yeah, sure. So I'm originally from Tucson and actually found a love of television production early on. So I I would work at the local cable access channel and knew immediately that I wanted to go to Arizona State, not only because it was still close to home, but you know, the Cronkite School was really kind of my ultimate goal for school. So I moved up to Phoenix when I graduated, and with an eye to just make it into the Cronkite School. And I think my sophomore year, I was able to join the Cronkite School, and it kind of opened up a million doors for me. So, you know, I got an internship at the ABC affiliate. I think it was 15. I don't know. It's been that long. And, you know, ended up transitioning from an internship there to the stage manager for the evening news, to a producer on the weekend, you know, kind of lifestyle shows they had back then. And so I had just an amazing opportunity through school to be able to kind of expand that. And then from there, as soon as I graduated, I moved out to LA because I knew I wanted to do unscripted. And I'd always had a love of unscripted, whether it be game shows or travel shows or dating shows or anything like that. I've always had a passion for it. You know, I think that there's a small group of us that moved to LA to do unscripted, wanted to do unscripted, landed in unscripted, and are grateful to be here. And so, you know, it's always fun to kind of find other people that have had that journey as well. So I got out here, and, you know, the one piece of advice I would give to everybody, you know, I had been a producer at ABC. I had done this, I had done that. You know, it doesn't matter. You get out here, you get your foot in the door, right? So I ended up, my first job was as a receptionist for a management company. And ultimately, through kind of moving from management company to that management company bought Dick Clark Productions. So I ended up working with them for a while. Then I went to 20th Century Fox and the CW, kind of all through coordinator, assistant jobs. So a lot of kind of executive support jobs. And then finally got a chance to land at E as their manager of development and current. And I was at E for 12 years. So stuck there for quite a long time. And then ultimately was the head of development for the network. And then only about 2 years ago, decided I was ready for a new challenge. And that was right when Fox had announced that they were creating a new alternative studio. And so at that point, I somehow wiggled my way into the right rooms. And I think I caught the back half of that last panel. And I will tell you, every single job I just mentioned, with the exception of the first one, I got because I knew somebody. And those relationships are everything. And so, you know, like I said, kind of wiggled my way and convinced them that I could do this job of overseeing development for their new unscripted studio. So that was kind of my path.
Thank you, Leela. I think it's funny, we have so many similarities in that I also graduated from ASU with my degree from Cronkite and moved to Los Angeles because I knew I wanted to work in unscripted. And I think people were like, oh, but don't you want to make scripted TV, or don't you want to work in film? And I was like, no, I actually just love unscripted like that. I just want to do that. So I really I feel like we're sort of similar on that page. Let's go to Taryn. Taryn, I'd love to hear about your journey to where you are now. ITV is an incredible company, global production powerhouse. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I actually started my career in Los Angeles actually as a receptionist as well, except for a media company that was building websites for blockbuster movies. So like the Australia film with Nicole Kidman and Hugh Jackman, I got to screen that ahead of time, and we built a website around that film. So that's kind of how I started. And then I quickly moved into being a producer for them. And probably right around 07, as the whole infrastructure we had our crash of 08 crash. I actually decided to jump into unscripted at that time. And it was through a connection as well. And I was very thankful because that was a tumultuous time. And, but unscripted, that it excelled during that time because it was cheaper programming to produce. So a lot of the big networks and that weren't paying as much for scripted content were funneling money into unscripted content. So, so I was very busy actually during that time, and got to work on, I started in production actually and not in post. So the joy of being in the field and making things happen and shooting things is exciting. It's fun. I mean, the experiences and the stories that you get from those kinds of opportunities is just, it's a lot of fun. And then I actually became a mom and I moved into post-production. So I wasn't traveling and shooting around the world. So that has been such an amazing transition to kind of see the full scope from production to post and how important it is to understand and know how to produce a show in the field. And then also on the other hand, to know how to create a show in post, in edit, and how those work together. So it's been incredible. And I kind of started on the post side of things at a production company in LA, but then I actually was working for High Noon Entertainment in Denver for a while and was their director of post there. And then they were bought by ITV. So High Noon is now one of the labels that produces content for ITV. And then I was able to move back to LA, which was a desire of mine. And so back here and working at ITV, so.
Well, thank you, Taryn. I'm so happy for you to join us as well. I love that we've got a broad spectrum of experience represented in this panel. I think it's super exciting. I also want to introduce my co-moderator of this panel, Nita Blum. She's a clinical assistant professor of production at ASU. Nita, are you with us?
Yes, hi. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. It's Nita Bloom, but all good. It's fine. Yes, I'm here at ASU. I've been here for 3 years, and I'm really excited to talk to both of you, our guests today, because I, in a past life, was a producer in Hollywood and reality TV, and I started my career at the History Channel. Went to Annenberg Space for photography and produced for them. I worked for Lifetime and all these, a lot of reality TV based productions. I did not think I was going to go into that. I love documentary filmmaking, but when I moved to Los Angeles from New York, and I needed to make money, and it was just all my friends were doing it, and I got into it, and it was exciting, and I was in the post-production world mainly as a producer editor, and it was a lot of fun. And I still have a lot of great friends that are working for MTV and all just in great capacities as supervising producers. And in any case, I'm excited to dive into your careers, because you've essentially continued on where I kind of passed the baton over. And I love to hear how that's going for you all. So thanks for having me, Roy and Adam and Barry and Andreas and everybody. So
Nita, we're so happy you could join. I mean, you bring the valuable ASU student representation here in terms of you're teaching them every day. I know you have a full class load, we've talked earlier, and I just appreciate you making time in your day to join us today. So I'd love to talk about projects that you're each working on right now that you're just so excited to. Like, now's your chance to kind of brag a little. Leela, what's on your plate that's like really fun for you right now?
Oh gosh, well, I mean, here's the thing about development is that everything on my plate I can't talk about yet. But I can tell you the things that have been announced that were on my plate, right? Because I work on projects in development, and then the second they move forward, they get announced and I pass them along to our current team. But I will tell you the things that I can talk about. Of course, we're really excited about Alter Ego that launched this week. For those who don't know, it is the first Avatar singing competition, and it is on after The Masked Singer on Wednesdays. And, that was created by my team. We created the concept and developed the show and, brought it to Rob Wade, who oversees alternative at the network, and said, we really think there's something here. And he took a chance on it. And, we're really proud of that show. So that is kind of the big one that you can tune into right now. I'm also really excited for some upcoming projects that we have. So one of the ones we're actually currently shooting right now is, we've done this big deal with Gordon Ramsay, and our first show out of the gate with him is a project called Next Level Chef. And we're shooting that right now, and it's pretty incredible. And we developed that with him and his team. And it will be visually something you have never seen before in the cooking competition world. And, it was really fun to kind of develop that project with him. So that'll be coming out soon. And then, we have other projects like you mentioned earlier, a show called Domino Masters, which is very much in the vein of Lego Masters. And then we have a big dating show that's going to be announced next week. And also they announced today that we are doing quite a bit of work for AVOD called Tubi that Fox owns. And they just announced today we're doing a bunch of fun Halloween stuff for them. So a project called Celebrity Exorcism, where we're going to have celebrities exorcise a haunted house. And also a couple documentaries, the first one being about Amityville. So we get to do a wide range of really fun stuff.
That is really cool. I think I'm here for celebrity exorcisms. Yeah.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
Why is there a subtract symbol everywhere? I'm scared.
Hey, Taryn, let's hear from you. What are you working on right now? What's fun? What's challenging? I know post is just so complex. And always evolving, and really sometimes at the cutting edge of technology. So tell me about what you've got going on, or tell us all.
Yeah. Well, ITV, so we have several labels that produce shows and content. So a lot of them have their own niche so we're not competing against each other in the marketplace. So we have, lifestyle programming labels. We have women-driven content labels. We've got game shows, big black shiny floor shows. So there's really a wide range of content that we get to produce and see on a regular basis. So we deliver to 20 different networks amongst the streamers and the major ones. We even have done a Snapchat show. To be honest, I felt so out of the game that I didn't realize Snapchat produced shows. So we have produced, shows for Netflix, Hulu, and Fox. We've got Hell's Kitchen on Fox, and which Hell's Kitchen is always a real fun one to work on with Gordon as well. And we worked together on Cannonball, which was on USA and NBC, and of course Love Island is the gift that keeps giving season after season. So we just completed season 3, and that one's for CBS. But that is a big undertaking of a show, that's for sure. But yeah, we've got The Chase has been a really fun one which is a game show for ABC, and we've got Marriage Boot Camp and Crank Anchors. If anyone remembers Crank Anchors from long ago, the team took a 15-year hiatus and has been back producing 2 seasons, and so that's always a hilarious one. But there are so many, like Leila said, a lot of projects in development. The development pipeline is it's a busy one across all the labels. So they're keeping us current on our toes for sure.
They are. I think, listen, there is a lot going on both of your plates. So when you, the focus of this panel, right, is women working in unscripted. And when you think about how the landscape has changed as you've evolved and advanced in your careers, like how has sort of the influence of women who are working in television, have you noticed that it's changed? Has it changed? If you could both just sort of talk about your own personal experiences. I think that the female students who are on the Zoom right now would be very interested to know the landscape as you found it versus the landscape as it exists currently. And any of you can just take it however you feel.
Yeah, I can jump in. I think with anything, it's absolutely evolved. I moved out to LA in 2004. So, we're talking 17 years ago. Gotten to see quite a bit of change since then. I have to tell you, I have quite a few friends in scripted, and unscripted has always felt like a more welcoming place, I think, for women. I can even just say from my first jobs, my first job or two was working for men, but I've had amazing female bosses from kind of the very beginning. I was able to work for a woman when I was an assistant at 20th. I was able to work for a woman when I was at the CW. I was able to work for a couple women at E. And presidents of my networks have been women. So my current boss is a woman. It has always been a bit more welcoming, I think, on this side. That being said, I think people are starting to, it's maybe still a little bit of a novelty, but it's becoming less and less so. I think you see these big panels of network presidents, and slowly it's getting to be about 50-50, and so I think more and more you're getting to see kind of women in these positions of power. And I think even to speak on the production end, I think when I first started, that is where I've seen the most change, is all the showrunners were men. When I first started, there wasn't female showrunners. Maybe there were co-EPs, but now I would say at least a third to half of the showrunners I work with are women. And, that has been, I think, the biggest change, is seeing production come. Do we have a long way to go? Yeah, especially in post, I feel like. I mean, Taryn, you can speak to that probably more than I do, but I would say that specifically is an area that I think we have a lot of work to do in. The other thing I would say about being a woman in this industry, and Taryn, I'm curious if you have the same experience, but I have noticed when I first started in this industry, you had to be a woman who kind of acted like a jerk to be taken seriously, right? Like you had to be like the hard nose, I'm not going to use language, but you had to be kind of mean, right? I think, to be taken seriously, at least when I first started. And I think what the world has changed to, and what women have realized, and what I'm hoping is continuing to be the trend, is that you don't have to be that anymore to be taken seriously. You can be the kind, nice, encouraging person in the room and still be taken seriously as a woman now. And so for me, that's the biggest change I've noticed, is who you have to be as a woman to be successful in this town. And I think it's really encouraging. We're on the right path. We're not there. We're on the right path.
I'd agree. I mean, when I was my production days, I was on male-driven programming. So like ESPN Sports Science or Jesse James is a Dead Man type of TV shows. So it was very male-driven. So most of the time I was the only female around, seemed like. And I have seen on the production side, I rarely had a female camera op or a AC to hire, but now I've seen, our shows that we're doing now, though I'm on the post side, I do see that we're working with female DPs. And so I love like that side of it. And then I have definitely had more experience with having females in leadership positions within like the established company. So those more production day player type positions, I feel like they were very male dominated. And I think that there has been a shift there, which is been great to see. And then you're right, though, in the post-production side of things, it is a struggle to, I think the female editors who have made their name known within the industry, they're always booked up, right? So, which is awesome. But it is definitely skewed. There are definitely more male editors than female, but that's been a huge initiative of ITV to be working on representation. Like I know you guys will be talking about more coming up, but that's been a huge push. And I think it's, we're starting to see some change. That's great.
Taryn, I'm so glad you're here to talk about the inequity in post that, you know, I think we all, right, we all see it. Leela highlighted it. Taryn, you confirmed it. Nita, I have a question for you. Do you have students that have an interest in post-production who are female? Like, is that a thing that we can look forward to down the talent pipeline and say, all right, we have a generation coming through that will eventually come into the workforce?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I teach the capstone program at ASU, and that's the senior level thesis film that they're making. And I would say right now we have 70 students, and about 20 of them are women identifying editors, directors, DPs. There's a good mix. And I would say also, I mean, I started as an editor at the History Channel. I was an assistant editor to a male editor, and then I worked my way up, but I was placed more in the producing side of things. And I think that's where historically, and I'm sure Leela and Taryn can speak to this, that women sometimes are kind of pushed into certain roles that people feel comfortable seeing them in, like in a producer role or art department or wardrobe. And I'm noticing now that our generation, our students in classes are saying, no, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna be a DP, I'm going to be an editor. Mainly and historically, I feel like we're not seeing as many women directors, women director writers, women wanting to hold the camera and being allowed that privilege. And so it's really nice to hear Taryn say that on the production side, she's seeing more DPs coming into the space that are women. In terms of post-production, yeah, there are tons of women in the last 3 years I've seen that want to be editors and are ready to get out there and start editing. And I'm more encouraged that there are women wanting to be directors, because our stories aren't being told in a way that we can relate to on screen, because mainly we're seeing male driven films on TV and in film historically. So it's exciting to see all of the roles being filled more diversely by Black and brown people and women identifying as women.
So interesting. It's really exciting, I think, to hear that the pipeline is happening and that we can look forward to that. So I guess it sort of dovetails into the next question really naturally, is that what can we do, right? What can we do to address the inequity? So I'd love to just toss it back to our panelists. What are some ways that we can help sort of correct what's happened in the past and open up more opportunities for female identifying folks in the future?
Yeah, that's a tricky question. I mean, I think that, I think that things are changing naturally. And I think it does start, Nina, with people like you, it's showing people that these jobs can be for them. Because I think a lot of people come into this industry not knowing these jobs can be for them, and not understanding how incredible it is to be able to craft a story in the edit. Or, there's things that get glamorized, I think, about our business and what people think they want to be. But I think as long as people know that they can pursue exactly what they want to be, I do think the industry is changing to support that. And I think if there's one thing I've seen time and time again work in our industry, it's somebody who doesn't give up on their passion, right? Like, if you want to come out here and be an editor or be a DP or be whatever you want to be, and just because somebody offers you a different job first doesn't mean that's the direction you have to go, so I think it's really being knowing what you want and making sure that other people know that too. That's just
Yeah.
my take on it.
Sorry if you can also hear my dog barking in the background. A work from home life, but I would agree that like also learning your craft, whether you're like, I know that I want to pursue production and I know I want, so learning everything you can about the production side of things, specifics on cameras, specifics on audio, specifics on lighting, and or if you're, you know, more post inclined, post can be really technical. So digging in and learning your craft, whichever path you're going. But I agree, like, you know, as far as one job doesn't need to necessarily lead directly in a line of a path, right? Like you can, I think knowing parts about each side of production or post or development helps in every area. So, and the more relationship building and making those connections is gonna bring you to your next spot.
I think that's
Taryn, you didn't want to be a receptionist? I really did, but I didn't go with it. So no.
I know, I think I was there for like 3 months and they were like, do you want to be a producer? I was like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, also to that point about not being a direct path, like for example, when I was at 20th, we did 90% of what we did was scripted. And I could have gone down that path. I could have taken that opportunity and become a scripted executive. And I kind of had to stay true to what I wanted to be and who I wanted to be, and kind of know when that job was great for the relationships I made and what I learned, and when it was time to kind of move back into what I had my heart set on.
I think that's a really good point about that you are not going to be pigeonholed, right? It's all an evolution and everything links, right? And I think like it's so hard, especially when you're starting out your career, you're so concerned about being siloed, right? I don't want to be thought of as, and this is, I'm talking from my own personal life, I don't want to be thought of as the dating guy. I don't want to be just the dating guy. I'm so much more than the dating guy. And I became so much more than the dating guy. And yet, ironically, I am now running Lifetime's newest dating series. So it's funny how everything sort of comes full circle at the same time. But I do think like, I just strongly encourage all the students who are on the Zoom with us today to like, really don't be afraid of that, because it's truly not the case. And I think our amazing panelists today, both Leela and Taryn, I think they're perfect examples of that. Like they've completely grown from where they began into places they may or may not have even imagined at the beginning of their career. And that's what's so exciting about Unscripted, is that we're not as locked into traditional pathways as scripted is. And so because of that, because it not as much, but because it is a little bit of the Wild West in terms of like, if you are passionate enough and you work it enough, you will get to where you want to be. And that's very, very exciting, I think. Taryn, I want to circle back real quick and talk to you a little bit more just about post, because as someone who runs post and has works in post, and I worked with you in post, I do, that's where I really feel the absence of women the most. And it's something that that I strive to fix on the shows that I run as much as I can. But I do want to talk to like the technical piece of it, right? Because it's as much of a craft as it is an art. So when you think about women, encouraging women to come into post-production, like what are some baseline skills that you would love to see them bring to the table?
So as much as, so the platform, the editorial platform that we work on mostly is Avid. So Premiere, there are some Premiere shows. I think there are production companies that do Premiere. We would only do Premiere for a very specific show, like a Snapchat show where you have to deliver a vertical video, like, or it might have a bunch of graphics. We might decide to do a show in Premiere, but Avid is really the main editing platform that's used. So there is a free version of Media Composer, which is Avid's platform. So you can download that, you can start to learn that. But knowing Avid and Media Composer is really like where you start in post. So whether that's as a post PA, doing music cue sheets, or being an assistant editor, knowing Avid's important. And then and funnily enough, like with graphics, knowing After Effects and being able to assist with making lower thirds and lower thirds. So actually knowing After Effects is super beneficial. Like if I had to choose between an AE who just knew Avid and an AE who knew Avid and the basics of After Effects, I'd go with them, like a lot. Because it obviously attitude and all the other things of what you hire on, but yeah, those are the basic technical skill sets.
That's really good to know. We have a great program at ASU, so our students are learning from one of our professors, Professor Denegris, cutting edge After Effects, and we have a great post-production team. So listen up, students, learn your VFX for sure. It's great advice, Taryn.
Yes, Taryn, thank you. That truly is great advice. And I want to pose the same question to Leela. Leela, what's the baseline skill set that you would love to see people come into the industry with if they want to work in development?
Oh gosh, curiosity, right? Like development is it's not really a tangible skill, right? Like you can have people, as you both know, you can have people who've been in development for 20 years and they'll all look at the same thing and come up with completely different ideas. So, I think for me, and, I was also a current executive for 10 years. So I did do both for quite a while, where I took for those who don't know, you take the show from development all the way through till the very last season that makes it through air. And I will tell you a natural curiosity, because really unscripted television is telling stories, right? It's either telling stories that exist, it's telling stories you create, it's telling stories that are a combination of both. And I think in order to be a really good storyteller, you have to be really curious. What happens next? What would happen if we did this? What would happen? And so, for me, just that kind of innate curiosity and love of it's almost psychology, right? Like it really is kind of at its core, a love of kind of trying to figure out the best, components to put together to tell the best human stories. I also think for people who are really interested in the development side, just having an eye for the world around you and what feels like is the next big thing, right? Like it's reading, it's an article that somebody posts on their social media. It's it's something that you hear a friend talking about. It's a character that you see somewhere. It's a trend that you're wondering, what is this? It's we also pitch externally. So one of my favorite things is Netflix always tells us, what's the one question you would want answered if you could do it with a TV show? And so it's like, there's all these different ways that you can kind of create shows. And so I think that just to have a really basic development skill of kind of curiosity and how that could make a show, right? So, because you can come up with an article that's great and you're like, oh, that would be a cool show. Well, what is the show? Like, is it a format? Are you putting people in a house and figuring out what happens based on that article? Are you following stories out in the real world, documentary style, of people who are going through this? Is it arced? Are you following somebody over 10 episodes? Are you following them just for an episode? There's all of these things that go into taking a seed of an idea and figuring out how it makes the best, most compelling show and format. And that just comes with practice too, so curiosity, a little bit of math skills. I find that comes very in handy when it comes to competition shows and game shows. So make sure to go to math classes too.
Oh my gosh, that is actually very true.
Writing too, by the way, really quick, writing. We put together lots and lots of materials, either when you're on the selling side, the buying side, the current side, you are always writing. You're always writing what a scene's intention is, who this character is, what the arc of the story is going to be, what materials you're putting together to sell a show. Writing.
That's great. I had a question just from the students are giving us such great questions and comments here. Anna's comment about feeling intimidated in a post world is a little bit concerning for sure. But I would love to hear from, I guess, Taryn, because you have that post-production background. What advice would you give to someone like Anna? I don't know if you can see in the chat her comment about feeling intimidated by a male-dominated field. What advice would you give her coming into the job force and trying to maybe get a position from someone like yourself? And there's Anna coming on the screen. Thanks, Anna. Hi. How would you instruct her? What kind of inspiration would you give her?
I think we actually have Anna. Anna, you're here, right?
Yeah, she's right there. Yep.
Okay, great.
Sorry. So I actually, I think this is a great time to be a female going into the entertainment industry. I mean, I think no matter what gender you are, I think that one of the values that the entertainment industry seems to value is paying your dues and getting your foot in the door and proving yourself at each stage that you're at, right? And so if you're wanting to be in post-production, it's seeking out those post-PA positions and learning what's involved in those positions and showing who your team that you're working with, that you have the good communication skills, you are detail oriented, you are a go-getter. You are willing to say, yes, I'll do what you need, or let me know what you need. Those are, those foundational assets that are needed as a post PA. And then you just rise up from there. But I think that it's interesting because to be an assistant editor, it's more of a technical job than it is a creative. So having that technical inclination needs to be there. But then if your goal is to move on to being an editor, that is a very creative driven, so you kind of have to have I do see some people go from story producer to editor because that creative, meets the technical. So there's so many different paths that you can take, but I think it's just those first opportunities and making those first connections and showing people that you're driven and that you can do that job, and they'll give you more and more responsibility.
Thanks, Taryn. I think we have a student question from Jacqueline. Jacqueline, are you here?
Hi, Jackie.
Hi, yeah, I am here. I do have a question. When Leela was mentioning all the shows that were upcoming or that she had in development, I was wondering how she came up with the new unscripted concepts. Are they in-house ideas or do they come from outside sources?
A combination of both. So I would say, right now on our development slate, we have, say, 40 projects, right? And I would say the ratio is about half of them are internally created, and the other half either came from a talent pitching us idea, a producer pitching us an idea, some kind of IP coming in the door. So I'd say it's about half and half. Alter ego, I'll tell you, it's kind of a funny story. We're coming up with, this idea of how can we do a singing competition for people who really deserve a second chance, or people who've never really gotten a chance, because I love The Voice, don't get me wrong, but the second you turn around and you see them, like, the hook is kind of gone, right? It's kind of every other singing show then. And so what if the judges had to really just judge them on their voice until the very end, until they were eliminated, and their appearance never really got in the way? And then that kind of snowballed into, well, you look at like Lady Gaga or Eminem, or even all these kind of new names, they all perform as alter egos. They all perform as this character that they create, that gives them that confidence, that gives them that persona to come out there and just be who they've always wanted to be. And so those two ideas kind of came together for us. And we thought, what if we create alter egos? Okay, what if those alter egos are in fact avatars? And this is kind of like almost a video game meets The Voice. And at one point we had even discussed, like, is it a house show? And like the avatars are on one side and the real people are on the other, and the real people don't know like which one of each other is which avatar. And we went through, in any development phase, we went through about 20 versions of the show before we landed on this one. And so it really just kind of all starts with a seed of like, what if, and that's really what it comes from. Domino Masters is a different one, just because we knew that this kind of toy competition space was really working for Fox, and we'd seen some incredible domino toppling videos on YouTube, and really kind of leaned into that to see if there was a whole competition there. Crime Scene Kitchen was one that was actually pitched to Fox and us by the producers of Big Brother. So that was an example of an external one that we then got looped in to help develop.
Fantastic. This is such good information, Leela. Thank you. I have a question from Laura. Laura, are you on?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I actually had several. I'm trying to remember which one I was going to go with, but I guess the biggest one is, I'm sure the question goes with any sort of production or post-production in any sort of film, documentary, or unscripted show. But have you ever, as women, run into an issue, well, of doing shows that are commonly considered male-oriented, like shows like Duck Dynasty, Tiger King, or even those Discovery or Animal Planet shows where it mostly revolves around, they're kind of action-packed and typically, try to find the right words for it, but it's just something I've noticed looking primarily at science fiction shows or superhero films, and then I looked further on and saw a lot of documentaries. There seems to be sort of the Love Island shows, the cooking shows, and then the Survivor shows. Kind of dating myself with that one.
Do you mean, Laura, do you mean, is there a danger of being pigeonholed into like softer shows if you're a woman versus being able to do the more adventurous type shows?
Yeah, sort of stick with the romance and drama shows.
Sure. Well, let's throw it to our panelists. Do you, Leela and Taryn, do you feel like that's a danger, like that women are being siloed into sort of the more softer side of TV, or are there women sort of who are tackling all kinds of topics?
I mean, I can speak to the executive side. I mean, you could even just look at Discovery right now. It's run by a woman. The head of development over there is a woman. Like, I think from the executive standpoint, I think that things have really changed, and women's opinions are very valuable, even in kind of the male skewing side of things. I can't say that I've ever experienced the production side of male shows. I was at E for so long, right? So didn't get a lot of opportunity to do that, but I don't know, Taryn, do you have anything else that you could add to that?
I'm seeing females on, our showrunner, one of our showrunners, because we had multiple on Love Island, was a female. We have a female co-EP on one of our game shows. We have female, directors on The Chase. So I am seeing, there's still a lot of men that have been in the game for a long time and, have the game show market kind of, but I do see women across all platforms.
That is interesting. Game shows are very male still, aren't they? You don't see a lot of women in game.
They kind of are. I mean, the one that we have coming up is actually for Netflix. And that's the one where we have a female co-EP on there in post. So shows are male driven.
Our showrunner on Alter Ego, which is, historically these big broadcast formats do mostly have male showrunners, but Masked Singer has had a female showrunner and Alter Ego has a female showrunner. And so I think networks that make it a priority, make it important and make it happen, so.
I agree. Yep.
That's great. I agree. You're right. If you make it a priority, you make it happen. I think we have a question. Let's see. Morgan, are you on?
Hi, hello.
Go ahead, Morgan. Morgan's a student at ASU.
Yeah. So I just had a question about how can editors, or I guess post-production teams in general, create reels or resumes that sort of prove experience? Like, it's really easy to say, like, I have X number of years with experience in the field, but I often find that employers are looking for something more attractive or something that proves that experience. So how can we add more of that to what we send out?
That's tricky, right? It is tricky if you're not yet in the industry. What content do you use to create? I guess I could really only speak to if you are in the industry. Like, I've had an assistant editor who worked on a show for a while, and he recut a scene and showed his EP, or he cut a tease and showed his EP, and the EP was like, that's great. Like, and he moved him up to being an editor the next season, and he's doing amazing. And he's I think once you're on a show and you take your own time to really work on that craft, and you ask to present it, you ask for notes from people, and that's kind of how that process tends to go, and you get seen. I mean, if you don't have content to be working with, I think that's where it's really hard, right? Like, if you're, how do you have content to cut with to show what you can do? So I guess it's just pulling what you can and putting it together. And obviously just to show those skills, because music cues are so important. Like, how
it can be overwhelming because you're like, where do we even start?
Oh, if you're not talking, please mute your mic. Thanks.
Yeah, so learning music and music cues too, very, very important as far as that side of things go.
Taryn, thank you for that answer. So listen, believe it or not, we've reached the end of our time on this panel. I want to thank Leela and I want to thank Taryn. You both have been amazing. Thank you for giving your time today to ASU and to FilmSpark and to the Sidney Poitier School and also to the Gusto Mentorship Program. Now's a great time to remind all the students who are watching this Zoom that the Gusto Mentorship Program is up and running. Applications are open. It's a one-on-one mentorship program where you can be paired with Leela, you can be paired with Taryn, you can be paired with a variety of working executives in the unscripted industry for one-to-one mentorship. So if you've heard anything in the last hour that piques your interest, I strongly encourage you to follow the link that was emailed out to you earlier and apply to the program. And I also want to thank Nita. Nita, thank you for your time today. I know you're busy with your class schedule, so I can't thank you enough for co-moderating with me. And I also want to thank the FilmSpark team. So with that, I think we'll wrap up this panel. We'll say thanks again to the panelists. And I encourage you all to stick by for your next panel, which will be coming up in like 5 minutes.
And Roy, if you'll forgive me, I just wanted to say a special thank you. Leela, thanks so much. I'm Adam Collis. I don't think we've actually met face to face. Taryn, thank you so much. I'm the director of FilmSpark, and I just wanted to tell you behind me is the new ASU Home Away from Home, the Herald Examiner building in downtown Los Angeles. And we so look forward to bringing the two of you and Roy and all of our wonderful alumni to come visit us here, maybe with our students who come out for a semester in LA program. So thank you so much, Roy. This was amazing. Just wonderful, Nita. Thank you as well.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye, guys.